And what's going on? This is the Jimmy Real Estate TV show. I have a very special guest today. His name is Pat. Pat is, I consider him a house hacker. He's been doing this since a very young age. And I want to ask him, the first question I'm going to ask him is about his life, his childhood, where he grew up, and et cetera, et cetera. So let's start with that. Pat, who are you?
My name's Pat. I'm 31 years old. So my life story is I basically immigrated to this country when I was 5 years old. I ended up living, obviously, with my parents, my two sisters in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, which was a predominantly Polish neighborhood back then. This was in 97. So basically, to go back, like my parents rented, they were probably paying like $600 a month for a two-bedroom apartment in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. Same apartments, I think, go for like $4,000 now. So we lived there for 6 years, and then as the rent started to go up, we didn't live in a rent-stabilized unit.
Okay.
It's basically a three-family house. It's a free market unit. Obviously, the rents kept on going up. Our landlord didn't want to sign a long-term lease. They were doing month-to-month, and there was once where she would be like raising the rent like $50 a month, basically to try to get us out.
Oh, wow.
So my parents ended up moving. We moved to Corona, Queens.
Okay. What year was this?
This was 2003.
Okay.
We moved to Corona, Queens. I think my parents started paying, it was a three-bedroom. They started paying, I think, like $1,200 for the three-bedroom in 2003. We lived there for 10 years. And my sisters got married. They moved out of the house. So it was basically just me and my parents. I think the rent was up to like $2,100 in 2013.
Oh, wow.
When we moved out there. And this was just, they weren't even doing like crazy increases. It was like whatever I guess the standard was, but obviously the rent just ended up going up to that much.
So it went up very high from when you were younger. So.
Almost doubled, yeah.
And you're from
Poland, yeah.
So you immigrated from Poland.
Yeah.
As a child?
Yeah, I was 5.
Oh, wow. You're very young.
Yeah, I'm 31, so.
So the reason I invited you here was because I'm hearing a lot of good things about you, that you are an investor at a very young age, and that you started at a young age as well. So just tell me about that. Like, what made you get into real estate?
So I think the main reason was because, like, going back to where we were living with my parents, obviously the rent kept on going up. So I did what typical people do. I worked, I went to college when I was 21. I was in college still. I started, I guess, my career at that point. Before that, I basically worked, all kinds of jobs, I guess, construction or waitering, stuff like that. So I didn't really have like a steady income in order to look at purchasing something. But once I started my career, I had some savings. And I guess the first reason I really went into real estate was because I didn't want to rent no more. So the first thing I did was I got a small property, an apartment. I think it was $185,000 that.
Let me stop you really quick. What made you get into the properties? Like did you say to yourself, what does it take to own a property? Yeah,
I guess that too. And then I guess at that point I didn't really know if I'd be able to afford it, or I had no idea about anything. So I didn't know how much money I needed down, like what my credit score should be. I didn't know basically anything. But I just didn't want to rent. Like I don't want my basically they do what my parents were doing the whole time they were here. It was just renting.
Gotcha.
Because there was nothing coming out of it, long term. So my whole thing was, all right, let me see what rent costs, and let me see if I could try to go and afford to buy something now at that point.
So what educated you on what it would cost you with the mortgage? Like you called a lender, a bank?
Honestly, I started trying to. Obviously, I asked like friends. I mean, everybody's my age, so nobody really bought anything.
Yeah.
So I started asking, older friends that I had, or just Google.
This is the age of 21.
Yeah. So I tried to start researching things about, how much can you afford, stuff like that, and kind of did my research. And like the first place I bought, I didn't even put 20% down. I put 10% down on the apartment I had, which was, I think my salary then was like 40,000 base. And this was 2013, and I put 10% down. I think it was like 19,000 I put down on the place. So It wasn't anything like astronomical.
All right. And what year was this?
This was 2013.
2013.
Yeah, so I had
And you put down how much?
10%.
10%. And were you able to put down more, or the 10% was?
That's all I had, because I basically had like 25 grand saved up. So I had the down payment money, then I needed money for closing.
Okay. So for the people watching this and wondering if they could buy their own property, I think Pat is a very good example. If you can purchase your own property, buy your dream home or even an investment property, whatever it is, this is a good example here. I consider him a house hacker because, he lives basically for free, right?
Yeah.
And the house that you bought first, what was it?
So I basically ended up living there for like 2.5 years. And it kind of turned out like what I was paying was almost the same thing as if I had rented where I lived. And then I ended up buying a 2-family in Staten Island in 2016.
2016, two-family. And this is in the MH area?
Yeah.
Okay. For the MH area, I don't know if you want me to tell the actual address, but I'll tell you the neighborhood. Is that okay? Mariners Harbor in Staten Island. It's actually pretty popular now. A lot of people are buying around there.
Yeah. It was a little more affordable then and now.
Yeah.
Especially on Staten Island.
Okay. And then how'd you do it? You rented out?
Yeah, so then basically I did the same thing. I put 10% down on that house.
Okay.
I actually did a concession on that house, which was the first time I learned about what a concession is. I think I did a 2% concession on the house to help with closing costs.
Gotcha. And then seller's concession, I'm going to explain. Seller's concession is when, you want to save some money on the down payment. You can add to the contract the purchase price being higher than the offer that you're making, and the difference makes up for your closing costs. So you're really not spending much on closing costs. These are things that I can explain to you in another video, but that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
Basically, you really don't have to spend much money out of your pocket to close on a house.
Yeah.
And that's what Pat did because he's smart and he learned.
Worked out.
And the first property, so you moved into that house in Staten Island?
Yeah, I moved into that house. I rented, it was a 2-family, so I rented the second floor, and I ended up renting the apartment in Queens.
Okay.
So, and actually I refinanced that, because initially I put 10% down on that apartment. I ended up refinancing it, I think like a year later because it gained in equity. So I got rid of the PMI and I got a lower rate, so I actually dropped my payment.
There you go. Look at that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that you learned.
Yeah.
That you had a PMI on the first property.
Yeah.
So you did an FHA loan.
Mm-hmm.
With the 10% down. And you decided to refinance afterwards and get rid of the PMI.
Yeah.
And when you refinance, you could lower your money, monthly payment. 10% down, you did on the other house.
Yeah.
You rented out one of the other apartments.
Yeah.
Okay, and now you're living in another apartment basically for free.
Yeah.
Okay, and now, how many other properties do you own?
I have 2 other ones now.
Look at that, yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And
slow and steady.
How'd you end up getting those?
I ended up buying another apartment a couple years down the line in Brooklyn. So I basically rented that out eventually, and then actually how we met.
Well, what made you buy the place in Brooklyn?
I just had a good opportunity, I guess, on a price for a condo. I guess it was a good investment. That kind of turned out to be a big headache in a way. Mm-hmm. We could go into that if you want, but
no, I got it.
It wasn't like it's not anything bad. It's just there was issues with the CO and everything in the place, so there was just a lot of headaches. Like it wasn't like a bad investment, I guess you could say, but it wasn't. People say like buy condos over co-ops, and I think it's all preference really. Like the other apartment I had was a co-op, and I had easier time with it than the condo. So
gotcha. Okay. Well, there you go. Now that's where we're at right now.
Yeah.
And now you're thinking of actually you bought another property after that.
Yeah, that's how we met.
Yeah, that's how we met. This is all with $25,000 savings.
To start, yeah.
$25,000 savings, and what was your income like? If you don't mind me asking. The first time you bought.
Oh, the first time I bought, my income was like $40,000.
Okay,
like base.
So there's a lot of people that think that they can't buy a home with their kind of income. However, I guess the purchase price back then was a lot lower
Yeah.
than not even back then. It's not even that far long
Yeah.
ago. Like,
Yeah. It's less than 9 years ago.
okay, yeah. And now purchase price obviously is a little higher, but there are properties out there for people that
Yeah.
they could still buy. I mean,
Yeah. I think everybody just has to find what's right for them.
yeah.
So like I don't, because like where I live too, it was a 2 bedroom. Like I didn't initially, it wasn't my dream home. It wasn't like the perfect place to live, but it was what I could afford at that time. So it was either I go, rent, or I just get into the market.
Yeah.
So it's like any long-term investment. I don't think there's, obviously you could time things perfectly. Like, '08 the market dropped. Obviously that was the best time. '09, '10 was the best time to buy probably, right?
Yeah.
'07 was the worst time to buy. You could time it, but the people that bought in '07 and they didn't sell, they're still better off now than if they never bought at all, if they were renting.
There you go. Yeah, that's good.
So it's hard you can't time everything. Long term, especially with real estate, you're going to either get into it or you're not going to get into it.
What made you get into real estate over like stocks and things like that?
I mean, I have stocks and stuff too, but I think everybody needs real estate. Like we're always going to need a place to live.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like that saying, buy land because God's not making more of it.
There you go.
So, everybody's going to need a place to live, whether it's in New York City and another country, you're always going to need it.
So it's a safe investment.
Yeah. I mean, I think, like, again, market could be bad, it could be good, but everybody's going to need real estate. So, and I had an interest in it. I mean, I guess learning about it and everything, finding, knacks and stuff, but.
Okay. Let's get into the house hacking. I know a lot of people want to hear about this stuff.
Yeah.
They want to know how they can live for free. So how do you do it?
I mean, I think to start, you have to just get into the market. I mean, you have to find, again, in the beginning, maybe you're not going to live for free. But, whether it's buying a new two-family, I think multifamily is the way to go. I know it's getting harder and harder now to buy multifamilies. But like if you're a first-time investor, I mean, obviously FHAs are like the most common thing that people go to, because you don't have to you could do 3.5% down if your income's there. You could technically, purchase the property, with low income. So I think that's the most important thing is to just get into the market with a multifamily. Obviously buying a 3 or 4 family is better than, buying like a 1 or 2 family. But I think it's the most important thing is to get in, even if you don't have the money, if you're going to plan on getting into real estate, once you could afford the payment and, your rental income is going to cover at least, a good portion of your rent, you have to get in. So when time goes by, obviously your value is going to most likely go up. And then, you refinance, you pull, you could either do a cash out refi, pull money out, go get another property if you have enough equity, or, you can pull out 80% of value in your house if you're primary. So, I mean, I think that's the most important thing is get into it, whatever it is. I mean, like I said, people, you could buy, we're in Staten Island, right? You could buy a house in Tottenville right now. Maybe you could buy a house in Stapleton or Clifton or St. George. Mm-hmm. It's going to be cheaper, and maybe it's not. Obviously, Tottenville, you could say, is a better neighborhood than St. George, but I mean, what's the city going to be like in 5 years, right? What's going to appreciate more in value? I think St. George is probably going to go up more in value than Tottenville is, especially if Brooklyn and Manhattan keep on getting priced out. I mean, look what happened to Jersey City, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's the number one most expensive city now in the country, right? $5,000 median income.
Yeah.
It's just a different ferry ride to go to St. George.
Exactly.
So what are people going to do next, right? Hoboken's expensive. Like, are we going to go north or are we going to go
that's a good way of looking at it.
South into Staten Island?
There you go.
Right? They're going into Brooklyn. I mean, Brooklyn's already expensive. So I think that part of Staten Island is going to go up.
Okay. And so I'm assuming that's why you jumped on the house, the building you bought.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's the most important thing. Like, people just have to find what's right for them based off of their income. And if you're paying rent, I think it's long term, it's better to buy the real estate. You have to find the right property that's going to, fit your income, fit where, your situation where you want to live. Obviously, it's different if you're single or if you're married and you have kids now and you're looking at schools and stuff like that. It might be different where you want to live per se. But I think you have to find the right property.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, look, a lot of people, they're scared to jump on something, or they think they cannot jump on something because they might not have enough money.
Yeah.
They might have good income, but they might not have enough money.
Yeah.
Or the credit's a little okay. But in order for them to find out, they got to take the chance, right?
Yeah.
They got to call people up and say, hey, can I do this? Do you think I could buy it? What can I do to make my credit better? What can I do to make my income better, or tell me what I can do to buy a property. And then, lenders are always willing to give them that information
Yeah.
on what they can do if they can already. So I think a lot of people should look into that, especially if they're looking for their first property and they want to live for free. They could do something like that. Basically, you rent 2 apartments if you get a 3-family.
Yeah.
And you live in another, or you could buy a 2-family. You rent 1 apartment and live in the other. There's a lot of options that people can do, especially with rent is going up. It keeps increasing. It's not going down.
Yeah, it's never gonna.
So, and I think this is across the country too.
Yeah,
it's not.
I mean I think what's it called? The inventory is very low right now too. And
Well, inventory is going up a little bit. Not like how it was last year, but it's a little bit. It's rising a little bit, not crazy. But the buyers don't have to worry about bidding wars anymore.
Yeah.
Which is good for them, especially if they have a low down payment, or if it's an FHA loan or anything like that. Yeah. So I think that's good. But let's get back to you. What do you think about the current market and the future? The rising rates, things like that.
I mean, I think, like we just said, now a lot of people are getting priced out. Mm-hmm. So, obviously the rates are going up now. I think they're like 5 now for 2-family, probably like 5.25. So I think people are going to get priced out now, and it's going to force them to rent. Uh-huh. So maybe people that, like, for example, last year people got great leases in the city, right? Like they had bargains. Like Greenpoint probably could have gotten a lease for like $2,500. Those leases ended now, and these landlords, obviously they have to make their money. Whether they have mortgages or not, or who knows what, they want to make their money back from the losses they took. So they're putting crazy leases out there. Yeah. So I think people are getting priced out now because, one, their affordability is going down. And then I don't think people realize how, what a big difference is. Like, let's look at Staten Island, right? Last year, you could have probably gotten a 2-family new construction for like $950, right? Your rate was 3%. Mm-hmm. You were paying $4,000 a month. Mm-hmm. Now that house is probably 1.1, right? 1.2. Your rate's at 5. You're paying $6,000 a month. That's a big difference. You got a 50% increase. How many people got priced out because of that?
Exactly.
So what is that person going to do now? They're going to go rent. So I think that's going to cause a good situation for cash investors, because even if you are an investor now, right, you're going to lose value on your home because you can't sell it probably right away. Like your houses are going to drop in value. It's not going to be like there's no bidding wars, right?
No bidding wars.
So you're going to lose value on what you sell.
People are still overpricing their homes too.
Yeah. So because everybody, who's going to realize what the house is really worth? Mm-hmm. This changes like month to month. So I think it's going to force people to go rent, and then cash investors are going to time it out. They're going to wait, maybe till this year, next year, they're going to buy up these houses. So and then they're going to rent, right? Because the rents are still through the roof.
And you know what we were talking about before the show?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not going to say specific names.
Yeah.
But tell me what you were telling me about what was happening that you read about.
Yeah, I mean, from like what I read, like there's a lot of institutions that own more 1-families now than, and like I don't know the history, but like a very long time in the U.S. I think like 1 in 7 single-family homes are owned by institutions. Okay. So before, obviously, me and you weren't buying, even 20 years ago, me and you weren't buying a 30-family house, having a regular city job or, doing real estate. Like we weren't able to afford it, but we could have bought a 6-family, right? We could have bought a 5-family or 4-family. That's a lot harder for us now to do.
You're right.
So I think a lot of these investors took over the multifamily market, over the past 20 years. And now it's gone to the point where even like a 2-family, it's hard for us to buy. Even because, you have to wait until you're getting more rent and your payment goes down. So I think now these guys are moving into single-family homes. So a lot of, I don't know if we're going to get a lot of foreclosures next year or not. Obviously, that was a problem with 2008, with bad loans. But I think these investors are going to buy up even more, single-family homes. I mean, you see that, you could Google it, right? Yeah. Just research it, see how many, big institutions. I mean, we're not going to put names out there, but just research it. They're buying up like hundreds of homes at once.
A lot of them.
So, and this, these are people who have money. Maybe they're not into real estate, but these people have whatever $1 million, $5 million. They're putting it into these, these funds or these investment banks, and these guys are going to buy it.
And they don't have to worry about the interest rates because they're buying cash.
Yeah. So, and then even if they do, right, they're going to get a rate at 5 now. They'll just refinance later. Yeah. Thing is, they're in the market. So I think that's gonna make it difficult for like regular guys or small investors.
You know, I want to know is it because they want to make more money or real estate, even though that's not a part of their job description?
I think it's just an opportunity, right? I mean, this comes with anything.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess as time goes by, obviously the same thing happened. Like 20 years ago, right? People were buying up. You look at, like, let's say, I don't know, big time real estate investors in the city in the 70s and 80s. I mean, we could think of somebody, right, who was president,
Oh yeah.
right? Bought up everything in Manhattan, right? Nobody wanted it. Now he's a billionaire. I think it's just opportunity, right? People know the market's gonna drop. It's time to jump in. Everybody likes to buy low, right? That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, and then obviously if they buy more stuff up and they're renting, they're just gonna pump their own market up. So they're gonna, even if they don't buy it at the right time, maybe it drops a little bit more. Long term, they're gonna make their money back. And now again, less inventory from regular people.
Yeah. You're right. That's what's happening. But I do. Do you think that the people with, even if they believe they have low income, that there is a way for them, if they do like a seller's concession, things like that, that there is a way for them to purchase an investment property?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the most important thing is just to try to get obviously multifamilies. You need some kind of just the tax benefits and everything. Passive losses you could take, long term benefits more than a single family home. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the most important thing. Just you have to get into a multifamily. Maybe you can afford a 3-family or a 4-family, or even a 2-family in like a your perfect neighborhood that you want to see yourself living in. But you could obviously financially manage your money where you could go into a place where it's going to benefit you.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be, whether it's buying a used home or a new home, it doesn't have to be, the ideal place for you to live in, but it's what you could afford. It's still better than renting, right? And now you have your lease is coming up and your landlord is going to raise your rent 10, 20%.
Yeah.
That's the most best thing with owning a home, right? Like your taxes are going to go up, but your mortgage, if you have a fixed rate, it's going to stay the same forever.
You have control over everything.
Yeah. So you get locked in and you don't have, your taxes are going to go up, but it's, it's nothing compared to what your rent's going to go up.
Yeah.
So I think it's just, putting it in your own hands, I guess.
And one more thing before we end the show. Do you prefer, when you first started, did you ever think about doing fix and flips, or did you always think about doing investment rentals like that?
I did, but I think you obviously need the cash, to do the fix and flips. I mean, you could get hard money loans, but if you have another career, it's kind of hard to do that. I mean, you have to get the contractors and everybody, you have to be on top of everybody, and make sure you're, even if you do a hard money loan, right? You take $1 million out, you're gonna get paid 10% on the money. You still have to time everything out. Where
let me cut you off. You want to explain to people what hard money loan is?
Yeah, when you could take hard money loans out, for example, you're buying a house. You buy a house for, let's say, $500,000. You could take a hard money loan out from a lender. Let's say you need $200,000 to renovate the house. Depending on how they do things, usually you're going to put the house as collateral. They know the house is worth $900,000. When you put $200,000 into it, they'll give you a $200,000 loan, and then you pay back the loan after you have a year, 12 months to pay back. You pay them 10% interest, so you owe them $20,000 basically.
So it's around about 10% they charge for interest rates, right? Like around there.
Yeah.
Could be higher, could be lower.
Yeah, it might be higher now. I mean, the rates went up a little bit, but if you're flipping the house, you buy it for 5. Whether you're getting a mortgage or whether you're paying cash for that part, you take the rest and you renovate the house, and now you have to sell it. But again, I think it's good if you have a lot of money lying around. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? For if you're a regular investor to have, let's say, $900,000 to buy a house like that and flip it and everything, But obviously, people making money that way, it's just a risk. Like look at it now. If you bought that house and now the market starts to drop, you're losing money. So I always thought about it, but I think maybe it's good to start small. You go maybe to Pennsylvania or something where you can buy houses for $100,000, and it's kind of more. And again, maybe it's better for me to do it there than somebody who has more money doing it here. I think it's just finding, but you need time for it. Yeah. I don't think you could have a career where you're working 50 hours a week and you're gonna try to flip houses now in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, true.
It becomes more difficult, but I think maybe long term, it's one day.
Well, there is also another loan that you can get from a conventional bank, private institution. It's called the 203K loan. Did you ever hear that?
No.
All right, so a 203K loan is a loan where you borrow money from the bank, but you have to have a general contractor, and the general contractor obviously has to be licensed. They have to give a detailed estimate of what it takes to fix the house up. You have to submit that to the banks. The banks have to approve of it. They send out their own inspectors out to make sure the jobs are getting done. I think they send them out like 3 separate times, and they give out the payments in 3 separate payments to the contractors. But I think the best way for people to find out more with 203K, like more details about that, is to call a lender who knows more about it.
Yeah.
There are positives about it, but there's also negatives about it as well. So
Yeah.
that's one thing people could do. That if they want to fix and
Yeah.
flip, I don't even know if they could flip the house though, but that's something they would have to find out from a lender.
Like we said, I think the most important thing is you have to like buy your first house.
Oh yeah.
And live in it, because you're gonna have to learn so much about the house. You know, everything that comes
There you
with
go.
it.
That's how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, like there's so many things with a house like you never think of. Like obviously when you're renting, you just call your landlord, but like, hey, this is messed up, and now when you own the house, everything's your problem.
Yep.
Whether your grass going yellow because it's too hot out and you're watering it at the wrong time, or where your pipes are in the house and everything. It's just it's a pain.
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing is you have to get in and see if you really want to even deal with that.
Well, get a good inspector.
Yeah, yeah, that's the most important thing too. Yeah.
Yeah, get a good inspector. But it's good. It's good that there are people like Pat out there who aren't scared of taking the risk, right? And investing in buildings, even multifamily properties, where you knew it was going to be you living for free while renting out the other unit. So I'm glad that you came by. I'm glad that we gave some value out there to the people.
Yeah. I learned something new today too. So
there you go. You always learn something.
Yeah, every day.
Yeah, and that's what makes you a bright man who keeps building himself up, right, to be more successful in life, which is great. So thank you, Pat, for coming by.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions for us, again, you can ask down below, or you can email me. My email will be in the description. And that's about it for today. Thank you very much, sir.